It's official. The inquiry into the murder of Zomi Frankcom, the Australian aid worker, by the Israel Defence Force is a whitewash. Here is the anatomy of a cover-up. How do we know this? Because the government is playing a shameful media game, a public relations game with friendly media drops and leaks to warm Australians up for the cover-up. First, they leak a story to The Guardian last week, the very week which marked 100 days since 3 precision drone strikes on World Kitchen Central vehicles led to the death, the murder of Zomi Frankcom, an Australian aid worker, and 6 others. Then, in another carefully choreographed leak to the Israel-friendly The Australian Today, that's Murdoch Media, we get this. The story even has quotes from the Zionist lobby group IJAC nodding in approval. It looks like IJAC got the report before the public did. Did, in fact, they get the report before the family of Zomi Frankcom? Now, The Guardian, the way it works here in this choreography of the media is that The Guardian is friendly to the Labor government and could be trusted to write the appropriate story in return for its exclusive leak last week. Guardian Australia understands, said the piece, that the government has received the report regarding the 1 April incident. We understand. Oh, how do we understand? Because somebody gave us an exclusive drop in return for the appropriate story. The Guardian goes on and is now working with Binskin, that's Mark Binskin, who was appointed to head this inquiry into Frankcom's death, to action his recommendations. We've got an action word in there that makes them look like they're doing something apart from a cover-up. To go on, The Guardian. Sources said the government would say more about the findings once it had carried out appropriate engagement with Frankcom's family. And it goes on, there has been some uncertainty about the level of detail that will be made public. But Wong, Senator Penny Wong, Foreign Minister, told the Senate estimates she understood, quote, the desire of many in our community for clarity around this. That paragraph is basically cat out of the bag stuff. They're not going to make the report public, just select bits of it. So what's happened here? The government has leaked to The Guardian. It gets them on side with their scoop, and that was the first media management incident, and then leaks to the genocide enablers at The Australian Today, who have convinced their right-wing dummy readers that you have to be on board with genocide or you are left-wing woke latte sippers, Hamas terrorist supporters. That's their narrative. Make no mistake, the Australian aid worker Zomi Frankcom was murdered by precision drone strikes in Gaza with her World Kitchen Central colleagues on April 1. This was no accident. How do we know? This was no fog of war incident, as The Guardian puts it, and the Oz framed it. This is playing politics with mass murder. And how do we know it was precision and deliberate? Because there were 3 separate strikes on the World Kitchen Central convoy. The images, make no mistake, show exactly what happened. This is no mistake. The cars were clearly marked. Cars were clearly marked as aid workers, emblazoned with the World Kitchen Central logo. And there are other ways, of course, of divining who are Hamas terrorists and who are aid workers. Not that the IDF cares. 3 missiles through the roofs of these cars, 3 separate missile strikes at different times on this convoy, bringing aid to Palestinians. Make no mistake, no matter the waffle in the media. And here it was in the Australian Story Today. The Australia, Israel and Jewish Affairs Council Executive Director Colin Rubinstein, he's effectively a lobbyist for Israel, Colin Rubinstein, said he would not be surprised if Air Chief Marshal Binskin's report confirmed that the IDF had a robust system of investigating itself. I mean, as if. They haven't displayed yet one skerrick of robust systems amid the genocide. Rubinstein goes on, and that the IDF had, quote, learned from the mistakes made in the airstrike to ensure such an incident would never happen again. The IDF is professional, said Rubinstein, and moral, said Rubinstein. As many high-ranking officers from other Western Defence Forces have found after working with the IDF, Dr. Rubinstein said, absolute arrant nonsense. Tragic accidents, said Rubinstein, do happen in war, regardless of who is fighting, but it is important to thoroughly investigate all the circumstances and take steps to do everything possible to ensure that such accidents aren't repeated, as the IDF's independent investigation has done. Just a lie. It's not an independent investigation by the IDF. They're the ones that press the button on these things. Then there's the matter of Elbit Systems, Israel's biggest weapon manufacturer, biggest bomb maker. Not only did the Australian government, get Mark Binskin to do its inquiry, and Binskin is a weapons industry executive, but Zomi was murdered with Elbit drones. And our very own Future Fund, headed by Peter Costello at the time, invested our money, public money, in Elbit Systems. Yes, not only has the government given Elbit Systems a $917 million weapons contract, almost $1 billion in liquidity, to keep prosecuting its murder of Palestinians from the air, but we are invested in this thing. We are financiers via the Future Fund in Elbit. And the Future Fund yet ducks for cover. It's pulled down the blinds when it comes to explaining why they are financing Benjamin Netanyahu's atrocities. Our government and the opposition, who are even worse, are patsies for Benjamin Netanyahu. They are genocide enablers. Expressing deep concern is not enough when you are financing war crimes at the same time, refusing to expel the Israel ambassador, refusing to call the Australian ambassador from Tel Aviv, refusing to stop the sale of weapons parts which are killing Palestinians. And just as an aside, the whole IDF operation is a cowardly affair on top of its brutality. Why has the world allowed this government? Why has the world financed them, the AUKUS partners, to drop bombs on refugee camps 6 times the explosive power of Hiroshima, to drop bombs on schools, UN offices, hospitals, murdering 17,000 Palestinian children? If they had a skerrick of honour and decency, this so-called self-described most moral army in the world would go in there with their fancy weaponry, funded by us, funded by America and Britain, and fight Hamas hand to hand instead of bombing children from the air. It's gutless. It's wrong. It is the crime of the 21st century, and our media is enabling it because they have missed the story. And geostrategically, as we put here before, this marks the fall in prestige of America and the change in the world order. That is the significance of this crime. Please like, share and comment in the section below.